Hi everyone, this is Dr. Nitin Chhoda, and in this episode of Ignition Time, I have an update for you about a big change in position as far as the post office is concerned. And number two, I'm going to talk to you about the latest back and forth between House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and the White House as far as the stimulus negotiations go. In fact, there was a member of the White House who just responded to some comments from House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. I'll be covering that in the video as well. But first, let's start with the main point of contention between the two sides, which, whether we like it or not, is going to be discussed this Saturday, this weekend, and hopefully it'll be bundled in with some talk of stimulus negotiations. And this was an about face, if you will. This was a radical change in position from the United States Postal Service. So, as you can see on your screen, the United States Postal Service is going to suspend all the changes that it planned on doing until after the election. The Postmaster General Louis DeJoy says the agency will not remove any equipment or cut hours amidst all the scrutiny that they are now getting from Congress ahead of an expected surge in mail-in voting. A lot of individuals are expected to vote by mail in the upcoming election. And again, the Postmaster General specifically said that they were suspending all their planned operational changes, like removing mail processing equipment, removing collection boxes, until after the November election. And he said that the agency was trying to reassure Americans that it can handle the anticipated surge in mail-in voting. He also said that the agency will not change retail hours at post offices across the country, and it will not close any mail sorting facilities. He said overtime hours would continue to be approved as needed in order to make sure that mail continued to get processed. And as you can imagine, there was a lot of pressure on the United States Postal Service in the last few days, so much so that the House is planning on meeting this weekend. In fact, Nancy Pelosi was specifically asked, is it even necessary for the House to meet this weekend, considering that the United States Postal Service has backpedaled, if you will. And I'll talk to you about what Nancy Pelosi said about that. It's looking increasingly possible that when the House convenes this weekend, it looks increasingly possible that they'll be wasting their time if they talk about the Postal Service anymore. And hopefully they can end up having a meeting with Steven Mnuchin and, their best buddy, Mark Meadows, because I know Nancy Pelosi and Mark Meadows are best friends. Nope, they're not actually. And hopefully they can then come to a consensus and then work out a deal. And I do think that there is a possibility that that might happen, especially because the House is going to convene this week once they get through with the Democratic National Convention. And so, in fact, Louis DeJoy is actually scheduled to testify before Congress this week. So there's a lot going on over there. And that's basically the status of where things stand right now. Now, here's another interesting update. Nancy Pelosi, when she was interviewed by Jake Sherman at Politico a couple of hours ago, she specifically said that she was willing to meet the Republicans halfway. Now, keep in mind, the Democrats wanted $3.4 trillion with the HEROES Act, and the Republicans were willing to go to $1 trillion. There was also some reporting that suggested that there was no way the Republicans were going to go above $2 trillion, and there was no way the Democrats were willing to go below $2 trillion. And it sounds to me like it's a no-brainer. Just meet right around there, and let's get this done, and let's help people. But here's what happened, and here was a response to House Speaker Nancy Pelosi from Ben Williams, who's the Senior Communications Director at the White House. And he said, and I quote, and we'll actually show you the tweet from Ben Williams on your screen right here. Ben Williams said, "So we are clear, cutting an absurd top-line number in half is not actually good faith negotiating. If I charge you $80 for a coffee and I'm not giving you a deal when I sell it to you or when I slice it to $40. It's just absurd." Keep in mind, again, the Democrats started at 3.4 trillion. The Republicans are at 1 trillion. So meeting at 2 trillion or 2.4 trillion, whatever that number ends up being, is actually somewhere close to where the two sides could end up getting. But again, the Republicans seem to be wanting to stand firm, though the administration seems to want to stand firm at $1 trillion. And that's where things stand right now. And if the Democrats actually come down to 2.4 trillion, maybe if they come down further and the White House goes up a little bit, that's where we can hopefully end up meeting. But that's where things stand right now. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. My name is Dr. Nitin Chhoda with Ignition Time. The sun is baking one half of my face. I actually quite like it. Hopefully you learned something new from this video. If you learned something new, please click the like button. Please also subscribe and please enable notifications so you get an instant update from us going forward. I really, really appreciate you watching. Also, if you want to get alerts from us, get your cell phone out, send a text message with the word ignition or time, send it to 70,000. You can also get added to our email list and you can opt out of the emails or the text messages at any point in time. Let us know what you think about the current negotiating position, about recent comments from House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. And it looks more and more likely that when the House meets for a vote this weekend, they really won't have too much to do as far as the postal service is concerned, because the post office has essentially backpedaled, and hopefully they can now use that time to come to some sort of a consensus. A lot of unusual things have happened. A lot of unusual things like, the two sides walking away without striking a deal, the president signing an executive order, all the complications associated with the implementation of the executive order, and then all the press conferences and all the announcements that have gone on since then. Let me know what you think below, what you think should happen. I've been updating all my viewers and subscribers consistently about the current state of the $400 a week booster, if you will, from the government, and hopefully that's been helping. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. I hope you learned something new from this video. Again, my name is Dr. Nitin Chhoda with Ignition Time. I really appreciate you watching. I will see you in the next video at Ignition Time. Thanks. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.